Sharon Stone is a name permanently etched into Hollywood history. Her rise to fame in the early 1990s transformed her into one of the most recognized figures in the entertainment industry. Her role as Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct in 1992 was groundbreaking, controversial, and career-defining. That single performance turned her into an international icon, the face of both glamour and provocation. But Stone's journey has not been one of uninterrupted success. Today, at 67, her story carries a mix of triumph and hardship. She has faced serious health issues, difficult personal losses, and the kind of setbacks that might have ended other careers entirely. Yet she remains active, still contributing to film and television, and speaking openly about her life and experiences. The story of Sharon Stone is not only about stardom. It is about a girl from a small Pennsylvania town who defied the odds, first in the modeling world and later on the big screen. It is about how sudden fame can shape and sometimes distort the trajectory of a career. And it is also about the resilience required to rebuild a life after health crises and personal heartbreak. To understand her present, it is necessary to look back to her beginnings, long before she became a household name. Her early years reveal a portrait of a young woman who was intelligent, ambitious, and determined to rise above her surroundings. They also show the foundations of resilience that would later allow her to survive devastating setbacks. Sharon Von Stone was born on March 10, 1958, in Meadville, Pennsylvania, a small working-class town shaped by the steel industry. Her father, Joseph Stone, worked as a tool and die maker, while her mother, Dorothy, managed the household and also worked as an accountant. Sharon grew up with 3 siblings, and her family emphasized hard work, discipline, and self-reliance. From an early age, Sharon showed signs of exceptional intelligence. With an IQ reportedly measured at 154, she was placed well above her peers academically. This brilliance, however, often came at a personal cost. In school, she struggled to fit in, finding herself socially isolated because she thought and learned at a pace that others could not match. Looking back later, she would describe her early years as a time when she felt different from almost everyone around her. Her childhood was also marked by physical challenges. At age 9, she sustained a serious neck injury that required hospitalization, an incident that left a lasting impression on her sense of vulnerability. Then, at 14, she was thrown from a horse during a ride, injuring her neck and shoulders again. These accidents, while frightening, did not deter her. Instead, they reinforced an early understanding of resilience, a quality that would become essential throughout her life. Despite her struggles socially and physically, Sharon excelled academically. By the age of 15, she had already completed high school. She was awarded a scholarship to Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania, where she studied creative writing and fine arts. Her professors noted her sharp intellect and curiosity, but Sharon was restless. While she valued education, she also sensed that her ambitions extended beyond the classroom. The environment of Meadville, with its small-town limitations, left Sharon eager to experience something bigger. She carried with her both the toughness instilled by her upbringing and the quiet awareness that she wanted a life far removed from the factory-driven rhythm of her hometown. By her late teenage years, that opportunity would present itself, opening the first door toward her future career. In 1976, at the age of 18, Sharon Stone entered a local beauty pageant. Though she had not imagined herself pursuing that path, her family encouraged her to try. Winning the contest became a turning point. Soon after, she was signed by the Ford Modeling Agency, one of the most prestigious names in the industry. Relocating to New York City, Sharon quickly found success as a model. She appeared in magazines, advertisements, and campaigns, building a portfolio that established her as a recognizable face. Modeling gave her financial independence and the chance to leave her small-town life behind. Yet, despite her outward success, she felt unfulfilled. In later interviews, Sharon explained that modeling often made her feel like an object rather than an individual. She described it as looking glamorous on the outside while feeling voiceless on the inside. That realization pushed her to consider other forms of expression. She wanted to do more than pose in front of a camera. She wanted to speak, to act, and to perform. By the late 1970s, Sharon began pursuing acting opportunities. She took classes to develop her skills and auditioned whenever possible. Her early years in Hollywood were marked by rejection. Casting directors often told her she wasn't the right type or dismissed her talents outright. But Sharon persisted. She was determined to prove that she could be more than a model, making the transition into film. Her first break came in 1980 when she appeared briefly in Woody Allen's Stardust Memories. The role was small and easy to overlook, but it gave her valuable experience. The following year, she landed a part in the horror film Deadly Blessing. These roles, though modest, allowed her to gain familiarity with the workings of a film set and the demands of screen acting. Through the early 1980s, Sharon continued to accept small parts in films and television. She appeared in Irreconcilable Differences in 1984 and worked steadily in supporting roles. None of these projects brought her major recognition, but they helped her build the foundation of her career. Sharon's perseverance during these years was crucial. While many aspiring actors gave up after years of struggle, she continued to push forward, believing that her opportunity would eventually arrive. By the late 1980s, Sharon Stone had accumulated nearly a decade of experience in Hollywood. She had appeared in films such as King Solomon's Mines in 1985, Alan Quatermain, and The Lost City of Gold in 1986, and Above the Law in 1988, where she acted alongside Steven Seagal. These roles kept her working, but they did not make her a household name. She was often cast in secondary parts or projects that failed to make a major impact. Everything changed in the early 1990s. In 1992, Sharon was offered the role that would define her career, Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. Directed by Paul Verhoeven, the film was a psychological thriller centered around a complex and provocative character. The casting process was highly competitive, with many established actresses considered for the part. Sharon, however, convinced Verhoeven and the producers that she could embody both the intelligence and the danger required for the role. Basic Instinct was released in March 1992 and quickly became one of the most talked about films of the decade. The performance made Sharon Stone a star almost overnight. Her portrayal of Catherine Trammell was both magnetic and unsettling, blending charm, wit, and menace. The now famous interrogation scene, in which her character crosses and uncrosses her legs, became one of the most discussed moments in modern cinema. The role brought Sharon both extraordinary recognition and intense scrutiny. She was suddenly on magazine covers, invited to major talk shows, and celebrated on red carpets around the world. Her salary, once modest, jumped to several $1 million per film. She purchased a home in Beverly Hills and became part of Hollywood's A-list. But fame also carried challenges. Sharon was quickly labeled a sex symbol, a title that, while flattering to some, proved limiting for her. Many of the scripts she received in the years following Basic Instinct were variations of the same archetype: seductive, dangerous women with little depth beyond their allure. Sharon wanted to demonstrate a broader range, but Hollywood was slow to see her as more than Catherine Trammell. Despite these obstacles, Sharon embraced the opportunities that came with her new level of fame. She was determined to prove that her talent extended beyond a single character. Within a few years, She would do just that by taking on a role that silenced critics and earned her the highest recognition of her career. After Basic Instinct, Sharon Stone's career entered a new phase. She was suddenly one of the most in-demand actresses in Hollywood. Yet the offers she received often repeated the same formula: mysterious, seductive women modeled on Catherine Trammell. Sharon wanted to avoid being typecast and sought roles that would challenge her as an actress rather than simply reinforce her image as a sex symbol. Her opportunity came in 1995, when director Martin Scorsese cast her in Casino. The film told the story of organized crime's involvement in Las Vegas casinos during the 1970s and 1980s. Sharon played Ginger McKenna, a glamorous but deeply troubled woman caught between love, ambition, and self-destruction. The role demanded both emotional range and endurance. Ginger was not a one-dimensional character. She was charming and stylish, but also vulnerable, manipulative, and ultimately tragic. Sharon threw herself into the part, determined to prove that she could deliver a performance equal to any of her peers. Acting alongside Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, she held her own in scenes filled with intensity and complexity. When Casino premiered, Sharon's performance received widespread praise. Critics highlighted her ability to bring depth and humanity to a character who could have easily been reduced to stereotype. She won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama and received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. For Sharon, these honors validated her determination to be recognized as a serious actress. The success of Casino proved that she was capable of far more than the provocative roles she had been offered after Basic Instinct. It established her as a performer with real range and staying power. However, the victory also underscored a challenge. Roles of that caliber were not always easy to find, especially for women in Hollywood who had been strongly associated with a particular image. In the years that followed, Sharon continued to work in both film and television. She appeared in thrillers such as The Quick and the Dead in 1995 and Last Dance in 1996, and later took guest roles on shows like Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. In 2013, she played Dorothy Borman in Lovelace, portraying the mother of adult film actress Linda Lovelace. Each of these projects allowed her to explore different aspects of her craft, even if none reached the same critical or cultural impact as Casino. By the mid-1990s, Sharon Stone had reached the peak of her professional career. Yet, away from the cameras, her personal life was becoming increasingly complex, marked by relationships, marriages, and losses that would shape her story as much as her film work. While Sharon Stone's professional life was flourishing during the 1980s and 1990s, her personal life was marked by a series of relationships that often ended in disappointment or heartbreak. Her first marriage came in 1984, when she wed television producer Michael Greenberg. At the time, Sharon was still establishing herself in Hollywood, and the marriage initially seemed like a supportive partnership. However, the pressures of two demanding careers and differing priorities strained their relationship. By 1987, the couple had separated, and the marriage ended without children. Sharon rarely spoke about Greenberg in later years, reflecting only that the relationship had run its course. Afterward, she briefly dated country singer Dwight Yoakam in the late 1980s. The relationship was relatively private and short-lived, but Sharon later recalled it as a meaningful connection at a time when she was still recovering from her divorce. Ultimately, however, the couple's busy schedules made it difficult to sustain. In 1993, Sharon became engaged to William J. McDonald, a San Francisco businessman. Their relationship moved quickly, and friends noted that she seemed genuinely happy during their time together. Yet the engagement was short-lived. Within the same year, the couple parted ways, and Sharon reportedly returned the engagement ring by mail. She later described the breakup without bitterness, saying only that not every relationship is meant to last. Her most significant relationship came in 1998 when she married Phil Bronstein, a journalist and editor known for his work at the San Francisco Examiner and San Francisco Chronicle. Sharon was 40 years old at the time, at the height of her career, and the marriage appeared stable and promising. The couple adopted a son, Roan, in 2000, and Sharon openly expressed her joy at becoming a mother. However, their marriage faced immense challenges. In 2001, Sharon suffered a massive brain hemorrhage that nearly claimed her life. She spent 9 days in critical condition and was given only a small chance of survival. Although she eventually recovered, the health crisis left lasting effects, including memory loss and speech difficulties. During this period, her marriage began to deteriorate. By 2004, Sharon and Bronstein had divorced. The separation became especially painful because it involved a custody battle over their son, Roan. Ultimately, the court awarded primary custody to Bronstein, a decision that Sharon described as devastating. She later said that losing daily contact with her child was one of the most painful experiences of her life. Despite these hardships, Sharon remained committed to motherhood. In the years following her divorce, she adopted 2 more sons, Laird in 2005 and Quinn in 2006. She has often spoken about the importance of her children, describing them as the foundation of her life and the source of her resilience during difficult times. By her late 40s, Sharon Stone had endured failed marriages, a life-threatening health crisis, and the loss of custody of her first son. These personal struggles, however, did not define her entirely. They became part of the broader story of resilience that continued to shape her life. After her divorce from Phil Bronstein in 2004 and the loss of primary custody of her son Roan, Sharon Stone entered what many describe as the quieter years of her career. The effects of her brain hemorrhage lingered for a long time, impacting her memory, speech, and physical stamina. Work offers in Hollywood declined, and the industry, often quick to move on, seemed to overlook her. Financially, Sharon faced additional challenges. Medical expenses and career setbacks reduced her earnings, and she has spoken publicly about having lost much of her wealth during this period. At times, she was forced to rebuild her life almost from the ground up. Despite these struggles, Sharon continued to act, though not at the same pace or level of visibility as before. She appeared in films such as Broken Flowers in 2005, Lovelace in 2013, and more recently in series like The New Pope in 2020. She also embraced roles on television, using each opportunity to keep her craft alive, even if she was no longer at the center of Hollywood attention. Sharon also shifted her focus to motherhood. After adopting 2 more sons, Laird and Quinn, she dedicated herself to raising her children. In interviews, she has said that becoming a mother gave her purpose and stability during her most difficult years. By her 60s, Sharon began to re-emerge publicly with renewed confidence. She became more open about her health ordeal, using her platform to raise awareness about stroke and brain injury recovery. She also spoke about her experiences with gender discrimination in Hollywood and advocated for equal treatment of women in the industry. Now, at 67, Sharon Stone lives a life less centered on stardom, but still rooted in creativity and advocacy. She continues to work occasionally in film and television, but she is equally known for her charitable efforts, public speaking, and writing, including her memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice, in 2021. In it, she reflects candidly on her career, health struggles, and personal resilience. Her story is one of contrasts: immense professional success, paired with personal tragedy and health crises that altered her path. Yet her persistence has ensured that she remains not only a figure of Hollywood history, but also a symbol of survival. Sharon Stone's life at 67 is not defined solely by tragedy. It is also defined by resilience, her role as a mother, and her ability to rebuild after devastating setbacks. Her journey reminds us that even those who achieve great fame are not immune to hardship, but they can choose to face it with strength.